What's going on, Flix Talkers? Welcome back to another movie review, this time for ZombieCon Volume 1. Now, Aaron, the star of ZombieCon Volume 1, reached out to me and asked me if I would review this movie early for them and give them my honest thoughts, so that's what I'm here to do. I'm going to give you guys my likes, my dislikes for ZombieCon Volume 1, and let you guys know if you should order it on July 15th on Apple Plus and digital. So before we get into my thoughts, guys, please hit that big thumbs up to support the channel and consider subscribing today, where I do more movie reviews like this, movie reactions, and live streams here on the channel. Now, it should just go without saying, and a disclaimer, that I am not paid by this company. I am not obligated in any way, shape, or form to give a positive review. They simply reached out to me on email and asked once again if I would review this movie early. And I was intrigued as, one, this is a horror zombie movie, which I love. And two, this movie was filmed in LA, and right off the bat, we don't get a lot of movies filmed in Los Angeles, California. And if you guys were unaware, I live in this area. So kudos first and foremost for changing it up and really showing some love to California. Now let me give you guys a quick synopsis on the film ZombieCon Volume 1. A group of cosplaying friends trigger a zombie apocalypse and are forced to traverse a zombie-infested Los Angeles to save their loved one. And this film does star Manny Luke as Rocket, Erin Ain as Claire, Punky Johnson as Punky, Christian Casillas as Javier, and Carlo Mendez as Xander. And this film was written and directed by Kyle Valley. And that praise is given lightly, as I did stick around for the credits and I noticed that Kyle Valley, his name is literally on 90% of anything involved behind the scenes with this movie. So shouts out to Kyle. Now let's start off with my pros for this film, being this is a fun group. And I didn't recognize anyone really in this cast other than Punky Johnson, who I watch on SNL. She is part of the newer cast, and whether you like the newer cast or the older cast or compare and contrast them, Saturday Night Live is a huge nostalgia for my life. It's been going on for over 50 years, I believe, and it's a huge staple in the comedy community. Now, once again, this friend group really does play well off of each other. I had a good time with just the banter back and forth, and there is a lot of banter. As someone whose favorite director is Quentin Tarantino, I can definitely appreciate some good dialogue. I also appreciated from the friend groups when the intense parts happened. They conveyed that well in their expressions, in their actions, to when some more of the devastating scenes like a zombie attacking their friends or their loved ones happened. Once again, these actors really tried their best to convey that certain emotion. Also, another like of mine, guys, was the kills for the most part were practical. I'm pretty sure all of them were practical from what I remembered, where you get a lot of stabbing, a lot of blood spurts, a lot of that in-your-face guerrilla style camera work that once again really brings the intensity like you're kind of watching a Resident Evil or even a 28 Days Later. Now, going back to the location of Los Angeles, California, I might be a little biased. I've talked about it in movie reviews before, that I always like seeing the Los Angeles backscape, as it is gritty, it's grimy, it has alleyways, it has freeways, it has on-ramps, it has all these different things that you can do to play well and make it a character in its own for your movie. And we got to see that from apartments to underground dwellings. I like that we got to feel like we were secluded once again in these underground scapes or parking garages, which definitely gave me feels of Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder remake. And that kind of piggybacks off of another pro of mine. I feel like this movie had a lot of inspirations, not just those ones that I named, but even in the comedy aspect, like a Shaun of the Dead or a Zombieland. As I did state in the synopsis, they are going to find a loved one, which is pretty much similar plot to Shaun of the Dead, where they're trying to figure out how they're going to get the mother. So once again, it's not groundbreaking stuff, guys. It is a zombie attack that happens in Los Angeles. There's a couple of little tweaks that they do to the zombie lore that definitely make it its own original movie. And that being said, I like the cosplaying aspect of the movie. I don't think I've seen a zombie movie, or let alone a horror movie, where cosplaying is involved. I could be completely wrong about that. Let me know in the comments below, horror fans. But I like that concept. And like for the first 20 minutes of the movie, we're developing this friendship once again, where their bond, their main connection, is through cosplay itself, where the actor Manny Luke playing Rocket lets the audience know that, hey, some of you guys like to dress up for Halloween. We do this all year round. And I thought that was pretty fun, because I could definitely not really fit into the category of cosplaying, but the whole thing with graphic tees or collectibles or just different fandom and love for films as a whole is something that's looked down upon amongst a majority of people. That's just kind of what it is. We're looked at as nerds, as grown-up babies, and we're just talked about in a negative light. So to find your own community and just connect on whatever it is, whether it's movies, anime, whatever, you got to find your community and stick with them. Those are the positive vibes that you guys are going to have in your life. So I really did like that aspect of the movie. It's probably my favorite aspect of the movie. Now let's talk about some of the cons or the dislikes that I had for ZombieCon ZombieCon Volume 1. This movie was too long. It was an hour and 50 minutes, and you know what? If it was trimmed a little more, an hour 30 would be beautiful for a movie like this. But going back to what I said about dialogue, exposition, some of these scenes were very, very drawn out. And once again, to someone that's not really into that, even for someone like myself that really does like character development or exposition or witty banter back and forth, this had a lot of scenes that had kind of some nonsensical conversations going on that could have definitely been trimmed out, so the audience focuses more on those intense scenes when they happen. Also, another dislike of mine, guys, with some of the camera work. Yes, it's fun and intense when the camera's in your face, you know, all the time, shaky cam and whatnot. It invokes something in you, especially when you get those zombie attacks. But for the most part of this movie, I didn't see too many wide shots. I didn't see the cameraman really step back 10 feet from our subjects. About 90% of this movie is intense, in your face, and they also threw this filter over the whole movie, which I don't really know how to describe it, but it worked for some scenes, but the whole movie is caked in this filter that's very desaturated, but also very sharp and crispy. I don't really know how to explain it. Once again, maybe if you guys are filmmakers or know exactly what this filter is, it was just a bit jarring and it sucked me out, as once again, it's applied 100% of the time on this film, and in some scenes it worked, in some it didn't. Now, another dislike of mine for this film, guys, was the ending of the movie, as some lore for zombies are tweaked, and I had mentioned that before, that they do make it their own, but it's not really traditional zombies. So if you guys don't mind switching up the lore a little bit or kind of getting a different take on zombies, you guys might have a good time with this. Me personally, I don't like when they start switching up things or just kind of inventing their own rules. And that's what I kind of got in the ending of this film. And last but not least, guys, and probably the biggest dislike for me, and it's a con across the board for all movies that do this, the audio mixing on this wasn't the greatest. Now, I don't know if it's because I was watching this in the living room with my surround sound system. And once again, before you guys crucify me for negatively talking about a lower budget movie, I witnessed this across the board on major $100 million projects. If we're experiencing a scene of dialogue between a few characters and then a jump scare just peaks in the red, I know for a lot of people they're going to say that's intentional, but I was constantly turning down the volume and turning it back up. And if I had to do that in 80% of your movie, it's not a good experience for me. Once again, just a personal dislike. I don't know, maybe you guys enjoy doing that once again with your remote, but I just didn't have a good time doing that. And all in all, if this movie was tweaked a little bit, I think I would have had a little more enjoyable time. So all that being said, guys, I think I'm gonna give ZombieCon Volume 1 a solid 3 out of 5. Thanks again, Aaron, for sending me this copy. I had a good time with your movie. And I think all in all, if you guys are horror fans and do appreciate lower budget films, you should definitely check out ZombieCon Volume 1. All right, Flix Talkers, do you plan to watch this movie? Have you seen it already? Or are you guys gonna pass on it completely? Please let me know in the comments below. If you guys did appreciate my video, please hit that big thumbs up to support the channel and consider subscribing today for more. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm gone.